Hello YouTube, this is Captain _ playing Kerbal Space Program. We're going to start today's episode with a bit of organizational work. As you can see, we're just at the station orbiting Minmus. You can see Kerbin rise just in the background, and our base location on the surface right down there. So if we turn on the HUD, we can get started. You can see the little markers for everything down there. Oh, looks kind of funny. They're like color coded. I don't know what the colors mean yet, but I suppose that will make sense at some point. I don't know. Whatever. We're gonna get started because, as you might have seen from the last episode, we had these excess fuel tanks, and well, we don't need these. They're probe controlled and they don't have any special features beside that. So we're just gonna drop as much fuel as we can into this fuel tank and then ditch the other ones. Now, okay, for that we're just gonna see if all this fits in there. Should. Yeah, should fit. Or not, whatever. We're gonna have to see how much these things require to deorbit anyways, but I suppose that should be more than enough. So, we're gonna have to quick save just for the sake of doing so, and then decouple. Okay, now let's point this thing in retrograde orientation and do the deorbit burn. Yeah, should be no problem. So, engines are deactivated unfortunately, so we have to activate those and deorbit. Voila. So how much fuel did we use? Oh, about 10, so that's no problem at all. Then we know how much we can put into the other system there. So, this one's gonna need a bit. That was too much already. Whatever. That's really nothing. So let's check if that's a program one, and come on. Decouple node. Oh, I just see that was the first one up here. Whatever, we don't need them. The only thing that we really need is this central node there. Everything else is just unnecessary. I should have perhaps drained the RCS fuel, because that is something that we are gonna need. Perhaps later on. I suppose I could even do a deorbit with RCS. Looking at this. Oh. No, I thought that was my trajectory. Whatever, let's turn this thing in the proper position and see if we can do this with RCS. Well, I guess we can. Let's look at the periapsis. 14,000, 12, blah blah. Okay, this is taking too long. Good. Problem solved. And let's switch back to the station and get rid of the last spare fuel tank there. Let's just... Okay, the monopropellant tanks are empty. Well, are fairly empty anyway, so these ones are full. We're just gonna have to send up extra... Wait a sec. That's stupid. This is Minmus Station 1. They just... Okay, that other ship was probably the one that was originally named Minmus Station 1. Oh, so the color codes indicate what type of object it is. So blue is apparently a station, I guess. So this should have station colors as well. Whatever. Good, we're gonna need a bit of fuel there. And come on. There. Oh, that was too much. Good. So let's undock this thing as well. RCS away. Turn to the right direction. And send it flying. After activating the engine. Goodbye. Good, so we got 3 stupid things on their ways. No, we should switch to this one. And just rename it. Don't ask me why. Make it a probe and name it Bola. Done. So let's switch back to the station. Switch to. We're good. Okay, we still have 3 guys up here, even though only Jeb and Bill are shown right now because Desney, is his name Denzi, I don't know. He is still in the crew quarters there, and I'm just going to put him into the command capsule so we can actually see him and we'll not forget about him in later missions perhaps, because we only have 5 guys around and on Minmus, so I think, what was his name, I don't know, Bob and the other guy are down there, and the 3 other guys up here, and we're going to need them for the missions later on, I suppose. Like somebody's got to do the station keeping up here. So we can finally extend the other panel again. Said we can extend the panel. Good. We should have no problems and should be able to quick save, I suppose. Good. So, but that's not the only thing I wanted to do for today. Just deorbit these things. I also wanted to send up my first rover onto Minmus. Okay, my first proper rover, not that small buggy thing. And, well, I'm not going to go into the details of the launch and the transfer and stuff like that, so I'm just going to really cut that together and show you as sort of a event video. So I have my rover set up on the launch pad right here. It really is nothing special if you look at it like this. It's just like a long tube of RCS, and this is just a structural thing, so it doesn't have any fill or anything, and 4 wheels and a command capsule. So it's not automated, it is manned. That is why we have Kelsey on here, and as much as I hate to do this, we have to take him to Minmus. I want to have as few Kerbals on Minmus as possible, because I remember on my last space station around Kerbin I had like 22 Kerbals on one space station. You can imagine that that was like, well, a lot of bugs in terms of duplicate Kerbals, because they still haven't fixed it. I have another Jebediah sitting over there in that rover. And, well, having so many Kerbals just increases the chances of having trouble in terms of that. And it also makes, well, station keeping difficult, considering that you'll have to put those guys somewhere if you want to deorbit certain ships or whatever. And if you don't want to kill them deliberately, then you're going to get into some problems, or at least into some trouble. But whatever, we're going to have to send them up there. 6 guys is better than 5, I guess. And, well, we need him to control this thing in orbit later on, even though we have our automated thing there. But whatever. So I'm just going to have this thing set up and launch. Now, as I said before, I'm going to cut this together so you don't have to watch all this. Okay, I'm back after a long journey from Kerbin to Minmus. We are finally rendezvousing with our Minmus station with a separation of 5.2 kilometers, which is okay, the best thing I could get at the moment. But we'll see what we can do. So target relative velocity has to be eliminated. We still have a lot of fuel, by the way, so that's good. Oop. So we can just do that. Wait till we get our closest encounter at precisely this location. How far are we apart? Can't really see it. 5 point something, whatever. That's okay. So burn retrograde to the target position and then towards the target position. Now we're using up a lot of monopropellant, which is an issue because I cannot use these fuel tanks here. As I said before, these are for the rover itself. And it would be kind of lame if we ran out of RCS fuel before we were able to dock, but I suppose this should be enough. Good. Now, see how close we can get our next encounter. That's about as close as we can get. Close enough. Okay, let's... Well, I'm just going to skip this part, in fact, because this is going to take a while again with all the docking. Just going to save you this part as well. Okay, so we're right in for the docking. Because this thing has a rather strange setup, we're going to have to do some weird things while docking. We're going to have to, first of all, get rid of all our velocity in this case, relative to the station, which is rather difficult considering that the ASAS is messing around again. So, first of all, what's it look like? Gotta close in a bit. Get rid of that velocity. Come on. Yes, this is no fun. Because now we will have to... As you can see, the docking port is the Clampotron Junior, and these are the normal ones. So we're going to have to undock this rover, flip it around by 180 degrees, and then stick it onto that thing. And because this is not really... It's a rover, you know, it's not made for orbital operations and docking, so we'll see how that goes. But aside from that, I suppose everything should be fine. And afterwards we'll be able to dock the fuel tank and, well, be done with that. So, let's just do that then. Quick save one last time, you never know what could happen. Decouple. So, quickly before anything bad happens... Oh, got caps lock. That explains one or two things. Now, okay, I'm just going to disable these two thrusters thinking about that, because these just unbalance this whole thing. Should have thought of that before, actually. Whatever. Oh, can't do that, so we're going to have to turn like this. Can't thrust sideways, which is rather impractical, but we'll see how this works. So now turn this thing by 180 degrees, control from here. No, don't go by it, please. Nope, 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 bad. Oh, shit. Shit. Okay, what am I doing? Oh well, I'm messing this up already. Say this is hard. Okay, balance this out. Now, well, what are you doing? Stop. Why is it rotating? I wish I could split directional and rotational forces on this thing, because this makes it incredibly difficult to control this thing properly. Okay, I have everything docked, and Kelsey is happily, well, on board the Minmus Station 1, And well, it was a bit of a mess, in fact, you know, getting this rover docked here, but it worked out. Unfortunately, the wheels are badly aligned, and we'll have to see how we get this thing docked onto the payloader later on. That's going to be a whole different story. So let's get that thing back into orbit and proceed with putting this thing on the ground. Okay, the payloader is happily situated down here on the ground, and we're just gonna put this thing back into orbit as soon as the station comes around. Just gonna have to wait for that. Where is it? There, set as target, and wait for it to go all the way around up to, I think, well, this point should be okay. So let's get started, shall we? Quick save one last time, and go. Oh, we should ignite the engines. Good. Now we're just going to have to burn into orbit, preferably not at such a weird angle. Nope, that's even worse. Okay, these angles are not making sense. Oh, 270 degrees. Yeah, we're burning west. Okay. So as you can see, liquid fuel is not a concern. Got a lot of that. Now let's see when we'll have an encounter. Well, hardly ideal, I'd say. Let's see if we can tweak that a bit. No, we're making it worse. Okay. Then let's see if we can adjust that by thrusting the other direction. And now, well, we can do this without turning around. This is always a bit difficult, getting things aligned properly. So as we know, we're going to have to, in the future, do this when the station is still a little bit further away, so we can properly. Yeah, that looks good. There we go. That's exactly what we have. Perfect. Good. So I'm just going to skip this part too. This was just to show how we're going to do this part. And I still have a lot of fuel in all these tanks, so really that's no problem at all. And the real difficult part is going to be landing the rover, which is a lot longer than this payloader is. Okay, I brought my payloader in fairly close. I'm not going to dock it this time, even though I perhaps should after I loaded the rover. But we're going to do that in a second. I'm just going to lock this thing in its position, swap over to the station, quick save, undock the rover, and hope for the best that we can get this thing docked. Oh, no, let's not push against the station. And switch to chase cam mode and control from there. Even though this is really weird in terms of perspective. Ugh. Okay, I have a great idea. I'm going to disable this RCS port and this RCS port and enable this one. And enable this one. That way this thing should be a lot more balanced. Yep, see, because the other RCS port was not centered around the center of mass, and that always causes some difficult rotation. And because the capsule in the front is of course moving the center of mass off the structural center, we're going to have to compensate for that by activating the front RCS ports and not the center ones there. Okay, so still we're spinning and moving away from that thing instead of moving towards it. Stop spinning, thank you. And turn off that. Ugh, I hate this. Okay. Now, thrust towards it. Now, see how much distance we put between us and this thing for no reason at all. Good. This is looking okay. Yeah, this is looking good. We can risk thrusting towards this thing now, I suppose. Okay. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. Perfect. Even though it's not perfect. Now, the length of this thing overlapping downwards is okay. We'll still have to drop it in free flight, which might cause some complications, but who knows. It should work somehow. Good. Now that we have that solved, let's quick save and get to docking this thing onto the station, refueling it, and sending it back to the surface of Minmus. Okay, we're coming in for docking with the payloader. That looks fairly good. Come on. Wonderful. There we go. Quick save again. Even though my F5 key is starting to wear off. We should always do this, considering that this game is probably, well, not really fun if you mess something up and forgot a quick save. And I really want to avoid having to record something 5 times. So quick saving is probably the best thing. Now, we're going to have to refuel this, starting with this fuel tank here. We're going to take stuff from there. Now this is going to take some time because we're going to have to refuel the RCS tanks as well, and I'll be back when I'm done with that. So it's the same procedure as always. We just face this vector. It's really not important how accurate we are about this. The engines are active and we can start doing our burn. Perfect. Got this thing set up. The first fuel tank isn't even empty yet, so we're still really good on fuel. We still got monopropellant. Now let's see that we orient this thing towards the retrograde vector, because that's going to be the main direction we'll be thrusting in. And as I can see, we already have to thrust towards the south direction here. Good. And well, I think we overdid it a bit there. Let's see that we can just thrust north a bit. Yeah, this is fine. Let's let it do one revolving there. Get back to the retrograde vector and proceed with time warping. Voila. Okay, time to get into closer distances and make sure that we do not overshoot this thing, because that's what it looks like at the moment. And that's definitely something we do not want to do. Okay. So the proper camera is always helpful. And the proper orientation. Now doing this could be difficult, and we'll have to see how good we get at this. Nope. Well, we still have a lot of feel for maneuvering. That's why we have it, so we can do precisely this weird stuff that we're doing now. Trying to get as close as possible to that thing down there, which is fairly difficult, I have to say, considering that, well, I'm not really good at landings, as always. I have to say that. Landings are not my specialty. Now, we've got to see how much we can do of this in RCS fuel. Now, which direction would we be thrusting? Yeah, let's turn off. Nope, turn that on. Yeah, this is going okay. It's a bit slow paced, so I'm not going to cut this out because this is probably the most interesting part about this, considering that landing this thing is probably the main difficulty. Yep, but it looks like we're going to get this done somehow. Though I do not like the idea of having to drop the rover in midair. Now we're going to have to do this, and unfortunately we're moving in the wrong direction. Yep, we're going to have to correct that motion there. Now we'll see how we can get this done. We're gonna have to tilt this thing at a very awkward angle and then drop it so it doesn't touch down while the gravity is low enough, I suppose. Now we're just gonna have to tilt this thing in such a way that the rover will automatically fall onto its proper side. This is harder than it looks, and I hope that the rover's not going to break apart under the load of this huge payloader sitting on top of it, but we'll see how it goes. Let's do this and undock. Yeah, perfect. Now let's not lose the payloader in the process. counteract all weird rotation, and settled. Wonderful. Now that was not really a good landing if you look at it from the perspective of a good KSP player, but you know, I got the rover onto the ground and nothing broke. Quick save to maintain this status. And well, now we can see how this rover really works on Minmus. Okay, I managed to unjam that thing there. The cool thing is this thing can fly, so it is actually capable of, I suppose, righting itself up in case it should have landed on its backside. The only danger being that these solar panels would break off. But, you know, that gives it some cool opportunities and options and stuff that we can do with this thing. Now, let's pray that the docking ports work, because having alignment problems with that would be really bad. And considering that the suspension on Kerbin is a lot different than that on Minmus, this might actually be a problem. Let's just hope it isn't. So it is fairly easy to drive. It doesn't topple over like the other buggy there, because it's got a much better weight distribution, and the wheels are far further out on the ends of this thing than with this small one here. So we'll just see if we can dock with this port there. Tons of RCS fuel make it easy to do any special maneuvers and not have to worry about RCS lack during the process. And well, we got lights, so we can illuminate our way in darkness, even though this thing is solar powered, so that's kind of like the solar powered flashlight joke. And you know, I never drive around in the dark anyway, so that's more just like a cosmetic thing. You can turn. Oh cool, I can turn on one light. Didn't know that. Whatever. So, my perfect parking skills really come in handy. Okay, it's almost impossible not to dock. I'll have to say I don't like the jittering of the station. It's okay, but it doesn't look healthy. Probably because the rover is weighing this thing down, and we should have a counterweight attached to the other side. But whatever, you know, it's not completely spazzing out, so that's still fine. Now we should extend those panels, because that's what I forgot last time. And to be honest, we're just going to extend 2 of them, because you never know when this jittering causes one of them to break, and that would be kind of lame. Good. I'm too lazy to take care of this thing right now. Would probably be a pain in the ass to get that out of there anyways. So we're just gonna leave it at that, I suppose. Okay, so the last thing I want to do for today is take this thing on a little test drive to see how it goes at higher speeds. Docking works fine, so the docking ports are really okay. I can send up more of this design in the future, and then we'll be able to do different kinds of stuff. Now I want to see how this thing can really drive up and down the mountains, because well, this is supposed to be my exploration and cargo lifting vehicle in one. Cargo is supposed to come. I have some ideas for different payloads that this thing will be able to carry, but that is a different story. Well, I'll be back when we've reached that hillside. Okay, we're closing in onto this small hill here. First ledge. As you can see, the hills on Minmus are extremely steep, and I suppose we'll have to develop some kind of cliffhanger design with more powerful driving capabilities if we want to get up these mountains. Although it looks like we can... Well, look at that. It's got like almost, I'd say, 17 degrees. Well, that's a pretty nasty mountain here. And that's not really... That's probably the shallowest thing around here. Yeah. Look at that. Everything else is like steep as shit. So climbing up these things is going to require an extra RCS boost, I suppose, which is of course not ideal, but see, we can jump a bit and that helps things. So we get a nice view from up this hill, and I suppose if we drive in zigzag lines, we'll be able to climb any mountain, even the top one there where I want to plant a flag. And speaking of planting flags, we forgot to do that for our base, and I suppose I'll do that in the next episode, so we have something to do. I designed a really pretty picture for that, and I guess, well, if you've not seen it before in my base, in my KSC thing there, then you'll see it in the next episode where we'll be planting the flag and sending up some other stuff for this awesome base. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode of KSP, in which I added a rover to my arsenal on Minmus. We'll see what comes in the next episodes. If you want to see more of my KSP videos, you might even want to subscribe to my channel, because I'll be uploading more videos, not only on KSP but also other games as time progresses and well, different things come up that I might want to play and show on YouTube. So, thanks for watching again. See you next time. Bye.